That cheap flight is not cheap, not even close. The fare you see is the opening bid in a negotiation the airline already won before you clicked search. Hidden fees engineered by lawyers. Cancellation policies written to exhaust you into giving up. Seat pitch designed for someone half your age and twice as flexible. 12 airlines on this list are financial ambushes dressed as deals. 3 are genuinely worth booking. We ranked all 15 from worst to best on total cost, reliability data, and brutal honesty. Number 15. Spirit Airlines. Spirit Airlines is the budget carrier that taught an entire generation of American travelers that the cheapest fare is not always the cheapest flight. The base fare is real. Everything attached to it is not. A Spirit carry-on bag fee runs between $49 and $117 depending on when you pay it. Pay it at the gate and it costs the most. Pay it during online check-in and it costs less. Know nothing about it and arrive at the airport with a bag that does not fit the personal item gauge, and you pay whatever Spirit decides at the counter. That pricing architecture is not an accident. It is a revenue model. Spirit's ancillary fee revenue per passenger is among the highest of any airline in the United States. The base fare subsidizes nothing. It is the entry price to a fee structure that recovers the discount and then some before you board. The on-time performance data compounds the value problem. The Bureau of Transportation Statistics has recorded Spirit's on-time arrival rate as one of the lowest among U.S. carriers in multiple consecutive reporting periods. A delayed Spirit flight in a Spirit-only terminal with no lounge access, no complimentary rebooking assistance, and a customer service operation that routes complaints through an app rather than a human being is a specific experience that frequent flyers describe, with language this script cannot reproduce. For senior travelers, Spirit's seat pitch of 28 inches is the tightest of any U.S. mainline carrier. Sitting in that seat for a 4-hour flight with cardiovascular or joint considerations is not a minor discomfort. It is a medical planning variable. The next airline operates on the same fee architecture as Spirit, but it adds a specific practice that consumer protection organizations in 3 countries have formally investigated. Number 14. Frontier Airlines. Frontier Airlines presents itself as the green budget carrier of American aviation. The livery features animals. The marketing features sustainability messaging. The fee structure features a baggage pricing model that the U.S. Department of Transportation's Office of Aviation Consumer Protection has received more complaints about per passenger than almost any other domestic carrier. A Frontier carry-on bag fee runs between $44 and $99 at the gate. A checked bag runs between $30 and $79 each way. For a family of 4 traveling with standard checked luggage, those fees can add $300 to $500 to the total trip cost before any seat selection, priority boarding, or beverage purchase. Frontier's cancellation policy has been the subject of formal consumer complaints related to the difficulty of obtaining refunds for canceled flights. The Department of Transportation's enforcement actions against U.S. carriers for refund violations have included Frontier in findings that resulted in a $2.2 million civil penalty in 2023. That is a documented fact, not a passenger opinion. For senior travelers, Frontier's digital-only customer service model creates genuine barriers to resolution for passengers who are not comfortable navigating app-based complaint systems under the stress of a canceled or significantly delayed flight. What comes next is a carrier that charges less upfront than Frontier and extracts it from you in a way that is considerably more difficult to anticipate before the transaction is complete. Number 13. Allegiant Air. Allegiant Air connects small American cities to leisure destinations on a point-to-point route network that serves markets no other carrier considers viable. That network is Allegiant's genuine value proposition. If you live in a small market and want to reach a Florida beach without connecting through Atlanta or Dallas, Allegiant may be your only non-stop option. The problem is the fleet. Allegiant operates one of the oldest average-age aircraft fleets of any U.S. carrier. The Federal Aviation Administration's maintenance enforcement actions against Allegiant have been documented in aviation safety reporting with a frequency that distinguishes the carrier from its peers. A 2019 USA Today investigation found that Allegiant flights experienced mid-air mechanical issues at a rate more than double the industry average over a 5-year period. Allegiant disputes those characterizations. The FAA's own maintenance enforcement records are public and searchable. For senior travelers with anxiety about mechanical reliability, those records are worth reviewing before booking regardless of the fare. The route network serves a real need. The question is whether the fleet profile and the ancillary fee structure, which mirrors Spirit and Frontier in its architecture, represent an acceptable trade-off for the convenience of a non-stop from a small market. For many travelers in those markets, the answer is yes by necessity. For travelers with alternatives, the calculus is different. The next airline operates on a different continent and has turned the European budget carrier model into something that consumer advocates have been documenting for years. Number 12. Ryanair. Ryanair is the most financially successful budget carrier in European aviation history. It is also the carrier that European consumer protection organizations have pursued with the most sustained regulatory attention of any airline on this continent. The fee structure is extensive. A carry-on bag that does not fit under the seat in front of you costs between 6 and 48 euros to add depending on the route and the booking window. Priority boarding, which is required to guarantee overhead bin space on a full flight, costs between 6 and 23 euros each way. Checking in at the airport rather than online costs 55 euros per person per flight. That last fee has been the subject of formal regulatory rulings in Spain, Italy, and Portugal, where courts have found it to conflict with consumer protection statutes. Ryanair has appealed those rulings with the persistence of an organization that views regulatory friction as a cost of doing business rather than a signal to change the business. If this list is saving you money before you even open a booking tab, subscribe right now. This channel publishes airline rankings, travel fee breakdowns, and honest travel intelligence every week. Subscribing means you will not be surprised by the next fee ambush. The next airline is Ryanair's primary European competitor. It shares many of Ryanair's structural characteristics and adds one specific practice that passenger rights organizations in the United Kingdom have formally named as deceptive. Number 11. EasyJet. EasyJet is the second largest budget carrier in Europe, and the one that most British travelers encounter first when they consider a continental city break. The fare is genuinely competitive. The seat allocation system is the specific problem. EasyJet charges for seat selection on every flight. Passengers who do not pay for seat selection are assigned seats automatically at check-in. The automatic assignment algorithm on EasyJet flights has been documented by consumer groups including which, in the United Kingdom, as having a statistically significant tendency to separate families who have not paid for seat selection, placing adults and children in non-adjacent seats. EasyJet disputes that characterization, the documentation from which is public. The European Union Aviation Safety Agency's regulations require that airlines seat children adjacent to accompanying adults without additional charge. EasyJet's compliance with that regulation in practice, rather than in policy language, has been the subject of formal complaints to the Civil Aviation Authority. For families with children under 12, the seat allocation dynamic is not a minor inconvenience. It is a boarding gate conflict that creates stress before the flight has departed. For senior travelers, EasyJet's secondary airport model, like Ryanair, means longer ground transfers and less accessible terminal infrastructure than the primary airport alternatives. The next airline is based outside Europe and has industrialized the budget carrier fee model in a market where passenger rights protections are considerably weaker than in the EU or the United States. Number 10. AirAsia. AirAsia is Southeast Asia's dominant budget carrier and one of the most influential airlines in the history of low-cost aviation. Its route network across Southeast Asia, connecting cities that were previously accessible only through expensive flag carrier connections, genuinely democratized air travel in a region where that democratization had meaningful economic and social consequences. That network achievement is real and worth acknowledging. The on-time performance data is not. AirAsia's delay rates across its network, documented in aviation analytics databases including Cirium and OAG, are among the highest of any carrier in the Southeast Asia region. A delayed AirAsia flight at Kuala Lumpur International Airport Terminal 2, the low-cost terminal specifically built for budget carrier operations, means extended waiting in a facility with limited seating, limited food options, and a customer service desk that manages delay communications with a consistency that frequent flyers describe as unreliable. For families with young children, a 2-hour AirAsia delay in KLIA-2 with no lounge access and limited amenity options is an experience that the $40 fare does not adequately compensate. For senior travelers, the aircraft type on many AirAsia routes, the Airbus A320 family in a high-density configuration, delivers seat pitch and aisle width that is manageable for short flights and genuinely uncomfortable for routes exceeding 3 hours. The next carrier operates in a completely different region, but it has mastered the same combination of low upfront pricing and high ancillary extraction with a specific twist that Australian consumer advocates have been documenting for years. Number 9. Bonza Airlines. Bonza Airlines launched in Australia in 2023 as the country's first true ultra-low-cost carrier. It ceased operations in April 2024, grounded its entire fleet with 30 minutes of notice to passengers, left travelers stranded at airports across Australia without rebooking assistance, without immediate refund pathways, and without the customer service infrastructure to manage the volume of affected passengers. Bonza's collapse is documented. Its receivership proceedings are public record. The reason it appears on this list is not to warn you away from a carrier that no longer exists. It is to warn you about the structural risk of booking ultra-low-cost carriers in markets with thin capitalization, limited regulatory backstop, and no major airline group behind them. The Bonza passenger who booked 3 months in advance, paid up front, and arrived at the airport to find the airline had ceased operations with 30 minutes of notice is not a hypothetical. It is a documented experience shared by thousands of Australian travelers in April 2024. The booking price was not the total cost of that flight. The rebooking cost, the accommodation cost, the connecting travel cost, and the time cost of seeking a refund through receivership proceedings were the actual cost. The lesson from Bonza is a framework for evaluating every ultra-low-cost carrier on this list. Capitalization matters. Group backing matters. Regulatory environment matters. Before you book any carrier you have never heard of because the fare is $30 cheaper than the alternative, ask who is behind it and what happens to your money if the airline is not operating tomorrow. The next carrier is not a startup. It has been operating for decades, and it has developed a specific customer service reputation that passenger surveys in its home market have ranked at the bottom of the National Carrier Index for 6 consecutive years. Number 8. Wizz Air. Wizz Air is a Hungarian ultra-low-cost carrier operating across Central and Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. Its route network serves markets that larger carriers have historically underserved. Its fare structure is competitive with Ryanair for the cheapest available price. Its customer service record is not competitive with anything, which Magazine's annual airline satisfaction survey has ranked Wizz Air at or near the bottom of European carriers for overall passenger satisfaction in multiple consecutive years. The specific complaints are consistent. Flight changes with limited notice, ancillary fees applied to bookings after purchase, refund processing times that exceed the legal requirements under EU Regulation 261/2004, often enough to generate formal complaints to national aviation authorities. For senior travelers, Wizz Air's digital-first customer service model creates barriers to resolution that are disproportionately affecting passengers who are less comfortable navigating app-based complaint processes under the stress of a disrupted journey. The carrier's expansion into the Middle East and North Africa routes has opened genuinely useful connections. The customer service infrastructure that supports those connections has not expanded at the same rate. The next airline is not based in Europe, but it has brought the European ultra-low-cost model to a market where it was previously absent and added a specific fee practice that consumer advocates in that market have described as uniquely aggressive. Number 7. IndiGo. IndiGo is India's largest airline by market share. It carries more passengers within India than any other carrier. Its on-time performance within the Indian domestic market is actually among the better metrics available in that market. The specific problem is what happens when something goes wrong. IndiGo's customer service model under disruption, flight cancellations, significant delays, and baggage loss has been the subject of formal complaints to India's Directorate General of Civil Aviation at volumes that the DGCA's own consumer reports document as consistently disproportionate to the carrier's market share. When IndiGo cancels a flight in a secondary Indian airport, the rebooking assistance, the meal voucher provision, and the ground staff communication quality are inconsistent in ways that passenger accounts from those situations document repeatedly. For international travelers using IndiGo as part of a connecting itinerary through India, a disrupted IndiGo segment has a cascading effect on the broader journey that the carrier's customer service infrastructure is not consistently equipped to manage. For senior travelers, IndiGo's high-density cabin configuration on many domestic routes delivers a comfort level that is acceptable for short sectors and genuinely demanding for routes exceeding 2 hours. Drop a comment right now and tell us which budget airline has cost you more in hidden fees than the actual ticket. We want the specific number, not just the airline name. Your experience could save someone else a significant amount of money. The next airline operates across a market where budget carrier regulation is among the weakest in the developed world, and the specific fee it has been found guilty of charging is one that Australian courts have formally ruled as illegal. Number 6. Jetstar. Jetstar is Qantas's budget subsidiary and the dominant low-cost carrier in the Australian and New Zealand markets. The Qantas Group ownership gives it financial stability that carriers like Bonza never had. That stability is its primary distinguishing advantage over the rest of the avoid section of this list. The fee practices are a different matter. The Australian Competition and Consumer Commission took action against Jetstar in 2014 over misleading pricing practices related to the presentation of fees in online bookings. The specific finding was that Jetstar was not adequately disclosing mandatory fees at the initial price display stage. Jetstar paid penalties and adjusted its practices. Consumer advocacy organizations in Australia continued to document fee transparency concerns in subsequent years. The booking fee, the credit card surcharge, the seat selection fee, the checked bag fee, and the fee to select an exit row on a long domestic sector combine into a total that passengers who do not calculate in advance consistently find exceeds the comparison fare of the primary competitor by the time they reach the payment screen. For families, the Jetstar seat allocation dynamic on popular routes during school holiday periods produces a demand for paid seat selection that is structurally similar to the EasyJet concern documented earlier on this list. For senior travelers, Jetstar's Qantas Group backing means that disruption resolution is more reliable than the standalone budget carriers above it. That reliability is a genuine advantage that earns it a position above entries 7 through 15, but the fee architecture keeps it firmly in the avoid section. And now we are into the 3 carriers that actually deliver what budget aviation promises. Not the cheapest fare that becomes expensive before you board. The honest combination of low total cost, reasonable reliability, and a customer service model that treats disruption as a problem to solve rather than a liability to minimize. The next carrier pioneered a model that its competitors have spent 20 years trying to replicate and consistently failing to match. Number 5. Scoot Scoot is Singapore Airlines' budget subsidiary. That parentage is the most important fact about it. Singapore Airlines is consistently ranked among the finest carriers in the world. Scoot carries none of that service standard into its own cabin. What it carries is the financial backing and the safety oversight of a parent organization that gives it structural reliability advantages that standalone budget carriers cannot match. The specific problem with Scoot is the gap between what the Singapore Airlines Association implies and what the Scoot product delivers. Passengers who book Scoot expecting a diluted Singapore Airlines experience arrive to find a standard ultra-low-cost product. Narrow seat pitch, fees for every ancillary service, a cabin crew service model calibrated for efficiency rather than hospitality. The disappointment is not about the product being bad. It is about the expectation the brand association creates being significantly ahead of the product it describes. Scoot's fee structure mirrors the industry standard for ultra-low-cost carriers in the Asia-Pacific region. Seat selection fees, checked bag fees, meal fees, and priority boarding fees all apply. None of them are unusual for the category. All of them are underestimated by passengers who book Scoot because the Singapore Airlines connection made them assume a different category of product. On-time performance across Scoot's network is adequate by budget carrier standards. The carrier's customer service model under disruption reflects its parent group's resources more than the typical standalone budget carrier, which gives it a meaningful advantage over IndiGo, AirAsia, and the European ultra-low-cost carriers when something goes wrong on a complex itinerary. For senior travelers, Scoot's long-haul routes on the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, connecting Singapore to Athens, Honolulu, and several European destinations, operate in a seat configuration that is acceptable for flights of up to 8 hours and genuinely demanding beyond that duration. The cabin pressurization and humidity advantages of the 787 airframe partially offset the seat pitch limitation for long-haul passengers. For families, Scoot's family seating policy has improved since its early years, but still requires proactive management at the booking stage to ensure adjacent seating without paying seat selection fees for every family member on every segment. Scoot sits at number 5 because its structural reliability advantage over the carriers above it is real and documented. But the expectation gap it creates through its Singapore Airlines Association and the standard ultra-low-cost product that fills that gap on boarding keeps it firmly in the avoid section. The next carrier is the one on this list that will generate the most debate because it has a loyal following, a strong brand identity, and a specific operational failure mode that its loyal following tends to discover only once. Number 4. Vueling. Vueling is the Barcelona-based budget carrier owned by the International Airlines Group, the same parent that owns British Airways and Iberia. That ownership structure, like Scoot's Singapore Airlines parentage, provides financial stability and safety oversight that standalone budget carriers cannot access. It has not translated into a customer service or operational reliability standard that the IAG Association implies. Vueling's on-time performance record is one of the most consistently documented weaknesses in the European budget carrier segment. Cirium's annual on-time performance report has placed Vueling in the lower tier of European carriers for punctuality in multiple recent years. The specific operational pattern that frequent Vueling passengers document is systematic. Delays on the first rotation of the day that cascade through the afternoon and evening schedule. Ground staff communication during those delays that is inconsistent across airports. And a customer service model that routes compensation claims under EU Regulation 261/2004 through a process that passenger advocacy organizations, including AirHelp, have documented as slower to resolve than most comparable European carriers. The IAG backing means that when Vueling cancels a flight entirely, the rebooking options through the broader IAG network are more extensive than what a standalone budget carrier can offer. That is a genuine advantage. It is not an advantage that manifests during a 3-hour delay at Valencia Airport on a Tuesday evening when the ground staff have no updated information and the app is not refreshing. For families, Vueling's seat selection fee structure on its cheapest fares produces the same dynamic documented at EasyJet. Passengers who do not pay for seat selection risk separation across the cabin on popular routes during peak periods. The carrier's family seating policy states that children will be seated adjacent to an adult. The practice in seat assignment algorithms has generated enough complaints to suggest that the policy and the algorithm are not consistently aligned. For senior travelers, Vueling operates primarily from primary European airports rather than the secondary airport model used by Ryanair and Wizz Air. That primary airport preference means better terminal infrastructure, shorter ground transfers, and more accessible facilities for travelers with mobility considerations. It is the one consistent structural advantage Vueling holds over the carriers above it on this list. Vueling sits at number 4 because the IAG backing and the primary airport model give it genuine advantages over Wizz Air, Ryanair, and the Asia-Pacific carriers above it. The operational reliability and customer service record under disruption prevent it from earning a position in the recommend section regardless of those structural advantages. The next carrier is the first on this list that actually delivers what budget aviation promises. And the specific policy it has maintained since its founding is the single most passenger-friendly commitment in the budget airline industry. Number 3. Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines charges no bag fees, not low bag fees, not bag fees that are waived for elite members. No bag fees. 2 checked bags per passenger, included in every fare, on every route, every day. That policy, maintained since the carrier's founding operational philosophy, means that the Southwest fare you see is the Southwest fare you pay for the basic transportation component of your journey. No carry-on ambush at the gate. No checked bag calculation before you click book. The total cost transparency this produces is the single most significant differentiator between Southwest and every carrier in the avoid section of this list. Southwest's open seating model, where passengers choose their own seat based on check-in order rather than paying for a pre-assigned seat, is the one structural feature that generates consistent passenger frustration. The boarding process requires checking in exactly 24 hours before departure to secure a favorable boarding position. For travelers who miss that window, middle seats at the back of the aircraft are the practical outcome. The workaround is a $25 early bird check-in add-on that automates the check-in process. $25 for both directions is $50. That is significantly less than a single Frontier carry-on bag fee. Southwest's on-time performance, measured by the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, has been consistently above industry average in multiple recent reporting periods. The customer service model includes genuine human telephone support, a 24-hour cancellation policy with full refund, and a same-day change option for no additional fee when seats are available. For senior travelers, Southwest's telephone customer service model, where a human being answers the phone, is a meaningful accessibility advantage over the app-only complaint routing of several carriers above it on this list. If Southwest just changed your next booking decision, hit the like button right now. It takes 1 second and it helps this video reach every traveler who is currently comparing budget carriers and needs this information before they commit. The next carrier operates across the Atlantic and has built a reliability record that the European budget carrier industry said was impossible at the price points it charges. Number 2. Norwegian Air. Norwegian Air Shuttle has had a turbulent financial history. Its long-haul budget operation, which connected European cities to New York and Los Angeles, at fares that undercut the major transatlantic carriers by 40 to 60%, collapsed in 2021 as a consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic and structural cost challenges in the long-haul, low-cost model. What survived is a European short and medium-haul operation that has rebuilt its reliability metrics to a standard that its competitors have consistently failed to match. Norwegian's on-time performance across its current European network, tracked by aviation analytics firm Cirium, has placed it in the upper tier of European budget carriers for multiple consecutive quarters in the post-pandemic period. The fee structure is transparent by European budget carrier standards. Norwegian publishes its fee schedule clearly. The low-fare ticket includes a personal item and no checked bag. The low-fare plus ticket includes a carry-on and a checked bag. The premium fare includes full flexibility. That tiered structure is not hidden. It is presented at the booking stage in a format that allows genuine comparison before the transaction is complete. Norwegian's customer service record under EU Regulation 2.61/2004, which governs passenger compensation for delays and cancellations, has been documented as more compliant than Ryanair and Wizz Air in formal enforcement tracking by national aviation authorities. For senior travelers, Norwegian's primary airport preference, using Gatwick rather than Luton, Oslo Gardermoen rather than Sandefjord Torp, means shorter ground transfers and more accessible terminal infrastructure than the secondary airport model that defines the ultra-low-cost segment. The best budget carrier on this list costs slightly more than Norwegian on the same route. What it delivers in return has no equivalent in the budget aviation segment anywhere in the world. Number 1. WestJet. WestJet launched in Canada in 1996 with a founding philosophy borrowed from Southwest Airlines and adapted to the Canadian market with a specific addition: genuine service culture. The carrier's original model, point-to-point routes, low fares, no assigned seating, and a cabin crew culture that treated passenger interaction as an opportunity rather than a transaction, produced the highest customer satisfaction scores of any Canadian carrier for over a decade. WestJet has evolved since 1996. It now operates a tiered fare structure, assigned seating, and a premium cabin product on its Boeing 787 Dreamliner transborder routes. Those changes have introduced some of the complexity that defined its competitors. What has not changed is the underlying service culture. J.D. Power's North American Airline Satisfaction Study has ranked WestJet above Air Canada in overall passenger satisfaction for multiple consecutive years. That ranking reflects something that fee structures and on-time statistics alone cannot capture: the experience of being treated reasonably when something goes wrong. WestJet's cancellation policy provides genuine flexibility. Its telephone customer service operation is staffed by humans who have authority to resolve problems rather than reading from scripts that route every non-standard situation to a supervisor who is unavailable. For senior travelers, that human telephone access is not a minor amenity. It is the difference between a manageable disruption and an unresolvable one. When you are stranded at an airport at 11 at night with a canceled flight and no digital fluency in app-based complaint navigation. WestJet's checked bag fees are real: 23 to 34 Canadian dollars for a first checked bag on most domestic fares. That fee is disclosed clearly at the booking stage. It is not a gate ambush. It is not a carry-on trap. It is a disclosed fee for a disclosed service. That distinction, disclosed versus concealed, is the entire difference between a budget carrier worth booking and one that belongs in the avoid section. The best budget airline is not the one with the lowest number on the fare comparison screen. It is the one where the number on the fare comparison screen is the number you actually pay for the experience you actually receive. WestJet is that airline, and the passengers who figure that out tend to stop comparison shopping on price alone, because they have learned that price alone is the most expensive way to choose an airline. Thanks for watching. If this list changed even one booking decision on your next trip, Drop the airline you are canceling in the comments right now. Tell us which one you are booking instead and how much the fee comparison actually came out. We read every single comment and we answer as many as we can. For more honest rankings covering hotels, cruise lines, and travel credit cards with the same level of detail on hidden costs and genuine value, click the next video on the left. We will see you there.